Good morning, Grand Rapids. I'm so happy to be here in person for a change. It's a beautiful city, and I'm convinced there's a conspiracy theory going on here. They invite international speakers to come here because they want everyone to live here and mix with the local community. I'm here today to talk about power of purpose and the purpose of power. We all have responsibilities as individuals, in our community, and in our companies. And we all have power. Power as individuals, power in our community, and power in our companies. I live in Bonnie, Scotland, the place of castles, Loch Ness, kilts, and golf. But as all cities, there's a dark side, and I live in the east end of Glasgow, quite a rough neighborhood. If you drive for 15 minutes from my house towards the city center, your life expectancy increases by 30 years. 15 minutes, 30 years. Imagine what happens if you drive for 20 minutes. Life was tough growing up. I remember one of the hardest times. There was a lot of tension in the city. Media was using immigrants as a scapegoat. And we were sitting in a house having dinner, my mother, father, brother, sisters. And some yobs left the bar, and they came towards the house and started throwing bricks at the windows, trying to kick down the front door, trying to kick down the back door. And we were like, what the hell's going on? But the neighbors came out, Anglo-Saxons, the local community, they came out and they defended us. The police came, and I realized that there's power in the community, dark side and the light side. This is my parents. They brought me up in a beautiful household. I was surrounded by my uncles and aunties and a big family. And being the youngest, I was the most spoiled. But I learned a lot. I learned a lot from my brother. I learned a lot from my sisters. They went to school before me, so they had to deal with all the problems of racism or discrimination, and I just kind of walked through school. My parents gave me a lot of core values, that we're all equal, that live life honestly, have honesty in your work, have honesty to yourself, and I carry them with me. So I decided to become a social entrepreneur. So when I meet people, they say to me, what do you do? I say, I work for social, for impact, for purpose, for some profit, and a value-based, sustainable entrepreneur. And they say, really? Poor guy. He's probably one of these businessmen that doesn't know how to make profits, so he set up a non-profit. And other people react and say, you work in charity? And then they kind of walk away. In case you ask them for money, or you ask them to become a volunteer. And the third reaction is, poor parents. They worked so hard to make money to send this kid to education, and he wasted it thinking he can go save the world. What a spoiled brat. So Milton Friedman says that the only social responsibility that we have, or a business has, is to maximize profit and shareholder value. I'm not sure if I really agree with that. Because when I meet people, they say to me, well, what I'd love to do is work as you do, but I'd rather do it when I'm old and I'm rich and I'm a philanthropist. And I think, well, really? Can we wait that long? And that kind of thinking leads to the boom and the bust and the boom and the bust. And how do we break the circle? How do we as individuals, communities, and companies come together? And this is one way I got helped, and one way I think we can help, is I got help, I help others, they help others, and I get help. So some of the people I meet, when I tell them what I do, they say to me, okay, tell me more, I'm intrigued. I'd like to know how this works. So I would like to introduce some people that inspired me to do what I do. When I was traveling, I met a wedding photographer, Dennis Bellevue and Francis O'Donnell. And they traveled through 20 countries, 8 war zones, 25,000 miles, and took 65,000 photographs, retracing the footsteps of Marco Polo. 8 war zones. I mean, I just lived in one in Glasgow, but 8 of them. So I asked them, why did you do this? And their inspiration from being a wedding photographer to changing to doing something so dramatic was that they wanted to document what was going on in the world, and they wanted to bring it back to America, bring it back to New York, bring it back to their Queens neighborhood, and educate the youth and show them where these countries are, the lifestyle these people live, the cultures that they have, and educate them what's going on in the bigger world, what's really happening. And I thought, wow, it's really challenging, it's really inspiring, but how did you do it? And they said, well, more than a few times we were ready to quit. I mean, like 2 Americans, one with photography equipment, going through communist countries and places where there's war zones. But when we were going to quit, we realized that the project was bigger than us. So I thought, great, I'm inspired. I can do this. So I set up a non-profit company, and it was an epic failure. My first business partner was a diabetic who loved to eat sweet things. He was bipolar, but in denial. And he was a paranoid egomaniac. But he was really creative. So creativity goes a long way. So I thought we could make this work. So that failed. So what do you do as an entrepreneur? You step up and you try again. So my second adventure to set up a company was nearly an epic failure. I set up a construction company in Mexico. It's quite labor intensive, and I felt I could do something with that labor, do something better. It was for profit, but also for impact. And we faced many, many challenges. And corruption, and trying to learn the languages and the legal system, and then the people themselves trying to work out what they really needed and how we could help. But I got help. I got a lot of assistance. And one of the main people that helped me was Rudy. I was taking a flight from Mexico out to Glasgow. And on the way, I was going via Mexico City, and I met Rudy, and I was telling him, I got so many issues, so many challenges. And he helped me. He said, I really like your purpose. I really like what you're trying to do. You're a bit naive and a bit stupid, but yeah, we can work on that bit. And he reached out, and he used his networks and his contacts and his expertise to make what we were doing stronger. So we grew. We grew from a small company of 4 employees, where we grew from 4 employees to 200 employees. We would take unskilled labor, and we would give them training, vocational training on site. We would teach them skills in construction that they could take anywhere in Mexico or around the world. And once they had that skill set, they went from earning $50 a week US to earning $200 a week. So it transformed their lives. It gave them stability. You've heard my talk. It gave them stability. And then what we found, every Saturday we'd have a barbecue party, because it's good to have parties, and it was payday. So we'd invite the whole family to come over. They'd bring their wives and kids. And we started to understand what's going on inside the family, not just the workers, but the whole bigger picture. And what we realized was that the payday, the workers would take the money and go to the cantina and get drunk. Yeah, it's okay. But then on Sunday, they'd go to the canteen again and continue getting drunk. And then on Monday, they'd be sobering up, and nobody would come to work. And this caused a lot of difficulty in the families, and also for us, for a construction company, it got kind of dangerous having somebody that was kind of drunk, kind of sober on site. So what we did was we decided, instead of giving the pay salaries to the men, we'd give them to the women. So every Saturday when we have our barbecue parties, we'd say, okay, the ladies, here's the paycheck. And they dealt with the money much better. And every other Saturday we'd say, so how was last week? And we'd slowly start improving. So the little things that we started tweaking started making a difference to their lives. This is one of the first people I started working in the core group of 4. And throughout the 7 years that we were running this company, it changed his life in a way that he could save money. So it was no longer hand to mouth, hand to mouth. We paid him decent salaries. He worked for a long time. And then he could go back to his city, back to his farm, and buy it from the company that had taken it off him. So quoting John F. Kennedy, efforts and courage are not enough without purpose and direction. I'm going to give you some examples now of the power of purpose and some of the things I'm doing. I'm a co-founder of Power of Youth, which is a growing community of entrepreneurs who believe business should be at the heart of building a better world. We take young, successful entrepreneurs that are for-profit, and we help them build better core values and have more of a purpose in what they do. This is one, Chibuzo Oprah. He's a doctor in Nigeria, and he's trying to find solutions from bottom up on how they can make the system better, the delivery of healthcare. He's streamlining services in hospitals, and he operates in 13 health facilities. So when we sat down with him, we thought, okay, what could we do? What could we do as a group of for-profit entrepreneurs to help his impact? What could we do with our expertise, our resources, our experiences? And we came up with an idea of he needs to communicate with his patients, whether it's a pregnant woman or somebody suffering from a disease, and he has difficulty communicating with them because they're not in the city, they're outside in these small villages, but they all have a phone. So we thought, okay, we looked at Groupon platform, which is great for communicating and sending you products and services that you don't need or ever will use. And we thought, okay, that works. Why don't we use a Groupon system where we can deliver products and services that have a life-saving and a life-enhancing effect? So we built a system for him, and now he's up and getting it running. Another person that came to one of our summits and that we were working with had a small restaurant in a township, and he was trying to find ways of scaling it up. So one of the people there had experience in fast food companies, and he said, well, this is the way that we produce food. It's unhealthy, but that's the way we do it. And this is the way that you could implement some of them techniques. So we were taking ideas from the for-profit world into the for-impact world. Coca-Cola, great system of distribution. You'll find it everywhere you go around the world. So that system of transportation, change it over to a for-impact environment. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples now of purpose of power. This is Bob Keeler, a Scot. And he runs a company with 43,000 employees. But his company is based on core values. It's a for-profit company. But he has 7 core values, and they just don't sit on a shelf gathering dust. It's built into his DNA. It's built into the company's DNA. It's built into the corporate DNA. And this is Tom Hunter. He's on the other end of the scale. He's Scotland's first billionaire, for-profit. But now he's realized that, all this money for money's sake is just hollow. It's a hollow dream and a hollow chase. So now what he's doing is venture philanthropy. And he's trying to use his money for a better purpose. He has a saying, he doesn't want to die the richest man in the graveyard. So you have power. You have expertise, you have knowledge, you have experiences. You have power as individuals, you have power in your community, you have power in your companies. And you have responsibility as individuals, in your community, and in your companies. So what's your purpose? To finish, I'd like to say a quote by Nelson Mandela. Playing small does not serve the world. We are all supposed to shine as our children do. And as we let our light shine, we unconsciously give others permission to do the same. People gave me permission to shine. And there were some shadows in my life, but if I shine brighter, they'll disappear. And now I'm giving you permission to shine. Thank you.